Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Just Open It, the YouTube series in which I open recently acquired toys. My name is Russ. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you're a fan of pop culture, toy collecting, or action figures, please subscribe to my channel, Karaoke Fanboy TV. Every week I do open a recently acquired toy or collectible, and today I am opening Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Kirby from NECA's line of TMNT figures. I was on the fence about this guy for a minute because as much as I love Jack Kirby, I wasn't sure if $35 was something I wanted to spend on a figure like this. I'm not buying the other figures in this line, so he is kind of a standalone on my shelf at this point. He will be, but I'll tell you what changed my mind is when I looked at the bottom of this box, and in my past videos featuring NECA figures, I've been kind of blown away by the credits that NECA lists when it comes to the production of the figure. And for this one especially, it says, the use of Jack Kirby's image is used with permission granted by the Rosalind Kirby Trust. All other rights reserved. For more information about Jack Kirby, please visit the Jack Kirby Museum and Research Center at kirbymuseum.org. To support the Kirby for Heroes program, please visit heroinitiative.org. I mean, I self-publish comics. I'm a tremendous fan of Jack Kirby. I even organize a Jack Kirby birthday celebration every year here in the Phoenix area. It's called Phoenix Celebrates Jack Kirby. When I saw that, the legitimacy it added to this figure was compounded, and I just had to get it. Not only to support these causes if the purchase of this figure does such a thing, but because, again, I love Kirby, and this is probably one of the only ways the master of comics himself will get representation on an action figure shelf. So Kirby did appear in, I believe it was the Donatello one-shot for Mirage Comics back in the 80s. As the Turtles gained popularity, each of the Turtles gained their own, or were granted their own kind of one-shot feature story. And Donatello met this character, this creator, Kirby, who had like a jewel tied to a pen, so his work came to life. What he drew would pop off the page. If I remember that correctly, I do have this issue. It's been a very long time since I've read it. It's been republished probably by IDW at this point in different volumes that are out there currently, so you could find a modern publication featuring this story, and that just makes this all the more cool. Because NECA's doing a great job bringing the original Eastman and Laird Ninja Turtle mythology to life in plastic form. So, again, I'm not really going all in on this series. I just wanted to get Kirby because of my appreciation for Jack Kirby in real life, the king of comics. And I was just curious to see if this figure does him any justice. So, let's get into him now and see what he has to offer here. Credits on the bottom of an action figure box, to me, it's like both revolutionary and it should happen. It should have been happening all this time. You know, I think the first time I ever thought about who makes these figures was when Mattel released Masters of the Universe again at the beginning of the 2000s. I think they called that the 2000X line. And we learned that the Four Horsemen were sculpting those figures. It was the first time I ever really thought about, like, the studios that are contracted out by these toy companies to design the figures. So in this case, knowing that you have, and I'm just going to look here, a director, a sculpt and fabrication person, paint, prototypes, photography, packaging, and of course illustrations by Kevin Eastman, all so very cool. So there are their names. I could kind of scroll that like the credits in a movie. All right, there we go. So the back just has some images of the figure. It would have been cool to have an image or two from the comic. I mean, this looks, I don't know, that's probably new and original art, I'd imagine. Not represented necessarily from the comic that Kirby first appeared in. But here we go. He is bound in here tight. Big pet peeve of mine. So let's see if I can get him out. With the NECA figures, I've learned that there's like some plastic here in the front too. You know what? I'm not going to wrestle with it too much. I do have a blade here. So let's see how easy it is in the back here. If I could just... Well, I might do it from the front, actually. I really wish it wasn't this hard just to get an action figure out of the box. But that just seems so needlessly difficult. Wow, why? Okay, here we go. Some accessories. Of course, you know, it's a Jack Kirby figure. 4 hands, in addition to the 2 already attached. 6 hands total. Why? Again, what happened to the days where just like you gave the figure the hands that would hold the accessories that came with it? Why is this like a thing now where I need all these hands? Is this a thing where like the more expensive the figure, the more difficult it is to get out of the package? Because I'm really annoyed with the removal of this guy. And I just don't want my tearing things apart to cause me to lose something. Okay. There is supposed to be a pencil, I think, and I may have lost it as I'm trying to get this stuff open. It's probably flown out somewhere. I'll have to consult the video and try to find it, because I think it was there and now I don't see it. And that is super annoying. What's going on? Okay? I mean, literally, I have to cut him free. That is crazy that it took that much effort. I think I literally broke a sweat. I found the pencil. Look at how small this accessory is. Absurdly small, if you could see that. And as you're wrestling to open this packaging, the potential of losing that is wild. If there were ever an instance where a figure could come with the accessory molded into his hand, this is certainly that instance, and yet instead what I get are 2 fists attached to Jack. Now I understand if he's up in the studio and he gets a call that there are some guys downstairs that are Nazi sympathizers, and Kirby wants to go down and go bare knuckles with them. I know, he grew up on the east side. It was tough. Jack could have been a brawler, you know, but, you know, 1 fist and then a hand with which to hold that pencil, all we really would have needed here. Might have even saved on some of the cost. So I think Kirby was right-handed. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I'm going to put his right hand in because I want to see right away how he holds that pencil and how firm it is, and if I will be eventually losing this thing. And let me see how it's depicted on the box. It is in his right hand, and it's between these 2 fingers, so you can see that gap. And there we go. So once you do that, once the pencil is in that finger grip right there, it's pretty good. But what an ordeal to get the figure out. I just dropped it. He just dropped it. There it is. Thank goodness. Wow. Makes me very nervous, considering how important this accessory is to the story of this character being a part of Turtles lore. I just don't know, once he's on my shelf, if things get knocked around a little bit, if that pencil's going to make it. So that's a little disheartening. You have these other hands. This looks like some sort of power glove. I'm sure it's from the story that I'm not remembering well. When I look at the back of the box, it doesn't show you who should be wearing that or why. So here's my suggestion: don't include it. Find a reasonable price point for the figure and leave that be. Leave this out. It's a little too big for Kirby's hand himself, though if it does go on there, it'd be like that. And then you have, and then this little notebook here. So ultimately, on my shelf, I would want him to be holding the pencil and the notebook. So I'm taking the other fist out, the left hand, putting that gripping hand in. Super cool detail here. What you have is this little monster, who you get as well as a figure. And then on the other side you have Donatello, and I believe that represents the cover of that Donatello one-shot. So this accessory would most likely go on one of the Turtles' hands. And I want him to hold the notebook like so. If I do this, wow, it does kind of look like it does kind of look like Jack Kirby drawing in a sketchbook. And that is a very cool figure to have. I just struggle again with the packaging, opening the figure, the preservation of the accessories. When you're dropping $35 on a figure, you want to make sure that you're getting your money's worth and that it will last a while. This guy, I assume, is holding this kind of little club here. Not sure how well that will go into his hand because his claws are pretty tight. This is a Kirby-esque monster for sure in its design. Just try to get this weapon in there. Goes in there. And just a closer look again at this guy. Very cool. Whoa, look at that. And NECA does a pretty good job of adding line art to the figures while making it not overbearingly so. McFarlane Toys is doing this thing now where it's like ink splash figures or something. They look ugly to me. I don't get that at all. In this case, you could see Eastman and Laird-esque lines of detail, and I don't find that distracting from the figure at all. I think it adds to the dimension and of the toy, and you know where he came from, and yet this figure is also kind of its own thing. It's regular shoes here. This is probably a mold that they're using for other pedestrian style figures as well. I could see this being used for a Baxter Stockman maybe, if that's the case. At least the bottom half, the legs, the feet, very just kind of regular person attire, and yet when you think about that this represents Jack Kirby, there's nothing regular about him. He was truly the king of comics. He created so many characters, literally hundreds of characters, that we all kind of take for granted now as being mainstays in comics, but they came from his imagination. In some cases working with Stan Lee, in some cases working with Joe Simon. Some other collaborators were involved as well, but ultimately this guy's imagination created comics as we know them today in the 21st century. And they're still pulling from his stories in the MCU and even the DCEU. A lot of Zack Snyder's Justice League with the New Gods came from Jack Kirby's New Gods stories. He created Darkseid and Steppenwolf and some of those other, the Mother Boxes and some of those other things we saw in those movies. So for him to get an action figure, I don't know if it's been done before. It is certainly long overdue. And the fact that it came with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles line, well, I guess that is also a celebration in itself because Eastman and Laird originally bonded over Jack Kirby original art hanging up in Peter Laird's house, and they just had to kind of include this homage to him in the original Turtles comics from the 80s. So to have this happen in 2024, 40 years later or something, again, just speaks to the legacy of not just the Turtles, but Jack Kirby himself. Very cool. Thank you very much for watching this video. Follow me on Instagram at AmazingAZComics. I do post a little bit more about the comics and toys that I love, but I also post about the comics and zines that I make. I mentioned I am a cartoonist based in Phoenix, Arizona. I self-publish a mini comic book series called Amazing Arizona Comics that feature my own original superheroes right here in Arizona. A lot of it is inspired by Jack Kirby's legacy. So if you could follow me there, again, that's at AmazingAZComics on Instagram. I'd really appreciate it. Tune in next time when I grab another unopened toy from the stack here in my living room and I say, you know what? Just open it. I'll catch you next time.